Good evening, Darklings, and welcome to this week's edition of the Only After Dark radio show. Something a little bit different for you this week. Although the third part of the show will see normal service resumed, the first two parts are given over to an interview with Reeves Gabrels, guitar extraordinaire for both David Bowie for many, many years, primarily in the 90s, and currently, and more recently, for The Cure. Good evening, Reeves.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. And how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. We've been on the road, so
yes,
we're settling into going to bed, getting up, driving, going to sound check, playing, going to bed, getting up.
and every morning in the hotels, are you having a full English cooked breakfast?
I like to have a full English cooked breakfast, but I like to have it around 4 or 5 o'clock.
Yes. I can imagine.
So that's made it a little difficult finding, but...
Yeah, because normally you kick well out of the room before then, but never mind. But there's plenty of cafes that do the morning breakfast all day long in England, but a bit of a bizarre connotation, but there you go. Well, the first question I'd like to ask you really is about you and your sort of roots. I think... obviously, most people, certainly my audience listening to you, would be aware of you first time around the Tin Machine era in the late 80s, although a lot of Bowie fans would have been familiar with the Sale Brothers, with Iggy Pop in the late 70s touring the Idiot and Lust for Life albums, but maybe not yourself. I think most people probably heard of you the first time around that time. So can you tell me, how did the collaboration with David Bowie in Tin Machine come around?
Well, when Idiot and Lust for Life came out, I was in high school, so I was the baby of the band.
Yeah.
Which that changes pretty quickly.
Yeah.
David heard a tape. I had met him when my ex-wife did press for him,
right, on
a Glass Spider tour, and I would just go out to visit her, and I met him. I was somebody there with nothing to do and an all-access pass, and he and I hit it off because we both went to art school. And over time, he was asking her when I was coming out again on the tour just to hang out, and I would bring him art books, and I never told him I played guitar.
Yeah.
Then at the end of her time working with him, she gave him a tape of a band that I was in. And about 6 months later, the phone rings, and it's David. He was like, "Why didn't you tell me?"
Yeah.
And then I just went over to his house, and we were supposed to start working. He had something he wanted to work on, and it was supposed to take a couple of days, but I ended up staying for a month. And then it just went from there.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where there was no way that it was ever going to happen that I would end up playing with David.
Yeah.
So I didn't even bother to bring up playing guitar or being in a band, even though that was the center of my universe, was music. The art thing was important to me as well, but it was just, it would have ruined everything for me to try to, so often people will try to, hustle someone for advancement.
I know. Well, as they say, the rest is history.
Yeah.
What I'd like to do is maybe pick a track from the Two Tin Machine album era, and I'll play it.
I know there are a lot of people out there that doing Bowie's things where they're playing songs that they from all around from his career and things like that. And what I like to do is, well, I wrote a lot of songs with David over time, and I needed an up-tempo song in my set when I first started playing live under my own name. Yeah. And so Tin Machine was, from Tin Machine 1, Bus Stop.
Yeah.
It was always, it was one of those songs that David and I wrote together where we were trying to write a 2-chord song, but we failed. We had to have all 3.
Brilliant. Well, look, let's play the track and chat some more afterwards. So here's Tin Machine with Bus Stop.
There's a crime that is heard in the city, from Vivian and Pentecost Lane, street gigging and dancing till 4 a.m. Another night of muscles and pain. I love you despite the convictions, but God never laughs at my joke. I'm a young man at odds with the Bible, but I don't pretend faith never works. We're down on our knees, praying at the bus stop. Now Jesus, he came in a vision and offered you redemption from sin. I'm not saying that I don't believe you, but are you sure that it really was him? I've been told that it could have been blue cheese or the meal that we ate down the road. I'm a young man at odds with the Bible, but I don't pretend faith never works when we're dead off.
Right, well, that was Tin Machine with Bus Stop. So after Tin Machine finished then, Reeves, Bowie sort of went back to his solo career for the 90s, and you were very much associated with it, not just playing on the tours, but also on the 3 albums that he released. Quite interestingly, I noticed a lot of collaborations with the songwriting on those 3 albums, and one of them being Outside, which I have to say I think is an absolute classic Bowie album, one of my all-time favourites. And I'm not just saying that, I think it's absolutely fantastic. But I was just interested in the process for the songwriting. I mean, obviously there's different credits for different songs on those albums, but can you tell me a little bit about how that process worked, or were there different processes?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Outside record was interesting because if you look at the writing credit on it, there's a couple that are credited to me and David, or me, David, and there's one that's David and I and Eno. And those were things that I had a rough sketch of a song that I brought in, and then we worked on it. The songwriting credits that are credited to, I think, all 5 people that were playing on the record, or 5 different writers, those are actually jams.
Right.
Those are a spontaneous, I hate to say jams, really. They were spontaneous compositions, including the vocals.
Yeah.
And there were no overdubs on those. That was exactly how it was recorded. It was just mixed after the fact.
All right.
And there was a lot more material, actually, from that record that was done in that manner. But so, I mean, one of the things writing with David throughout, the 12 or so years I was with him, it always changed.
Yeah.
Sometimes he and I would just write on acoustic guitar. Sometimes we'd, sit down with a keyboard and an electric guitar. Sometimes we'd both be playing synthesizers or a synth and have sampled some guitar bits.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would have something I had recorded. Here's what I prepared earlier.
Yeah.
And so what kept it exciting and interesting was that it never followed a particular pattern, but one of the things I knew as I got to know him better was if I brought something in that evoked a mood that took you to a place, that it would give him imagery that he would then turn into lyrics. And we had, when we met, we discovered that we were both listening to the almost might not have been the same albums, but the same artists.
Right.
And with great variation.
Yeah. Well, I think David Bowie fans will be forever grateful for your collaboration with David, because I think it certainly brought him back on track. I think most of us had mixed thoughts on what he did in the 80s, and I think the difference is the fact that in the 90s, obviously there were other musicians that were quite consistent with his career as well throughout that time.
Yeah.
It started to sound like a band again, rather than a collection of hired musicians, which I think in the 80s was how the record sounded, whereas in the 70s you'd got the Spiders from Mars, and then that sort of band that came out, the Young Americans into Station to Station period. But he lost it then in terms of what I call a sort of collective sound, but I think he got that back in the 90s, which I think is primarily down to yourself, I have to say.
Well, thank you, but he and I talked about it, and I was very aware of all the things I loved about his music, because I kind of, my mom bought me Ziggy, so I kind of grew up on it, and
actually, my mom brought Ziggy for me as well.
See, there you go. And And so I didn't want it to have the hired studio musician vibe that had sort of happened after Let's Dance.
But I mean, you know, thanks for what did happen during that decade. Have you got a particular track from those albums, maybe that again is a favourite of yours, or?
Well, I think my favorite record I did with David was Earthling.
Yeah.
And it was a kind of a shift and a refocus, and I think people, I don't know, it felt like at the time like we'd entered like the second golden age or something. And from that record, I would pick Satellite, because it was a song that I had started while I was watching a plane burn on the airstrip in Fukuoka while we were on tour in Japan.
Okay.
and
every song has a start.
Yeah, and we built it up, and I thought the song was complete, and David wanted a guitar solo on it, and we argued about it, and I was like, no, it shouldn't have a guitar solo. And he said, okay, well, just, you know, do it once for me.
Yeah.
And I did, and I kind of like walked out of the studio annoyed to get a cup of coffee, and I came back, and he and Mark Plotty were sitting in the control room laughing.
Yeah.
And they said, you got to hear this, it's perfect. And he also said specifically where he wanted me to stop the solo, but I was being so unruly that I played through the rest of the song, and it's what made it work. It was that the place that he put me in, the corner I got boxed into, made it work, and so because of that, and because I think the melody and the lyrics and everything are great. I just love that song.
Brilliant. Well, let's play it. Here's David Bowie from Earthling featuring Reeves Gabrels with Looking for Satellites.
Nowhere, shampoo, TV, come back, boys on, slim time, showdown, can't stop. Nowhere, shampoo, TV, come back, boys on, slim time, showdown, can't stop. Where do we go from here? Something in the sky.
You've made the switch. You've made the switch to 107.5 Switch Radio.
Back with Reeves Gabrels again, and after obviously the split from David Bowie at the end of the 90s, Reeves recorded an album called Ulysses, and some very interesting guest contributors on the album. Apart from David Bowie, who did appear on it, there was Dave Grohl of the Foo Fighters and Black Francis, or Francis Black from the Pixies, and Robert Smith of The Cure. Can I say, just as a hunch, did the connections with those guys come from David Bowie's 50th anniversary at Madison Square Garden in '97?
I knew Charles Thompson or Frank Black before from Boston.
Yeah,
because I was a part of the Boston scene. But I met Dave that way, and also Robert, because my job was I was the functioning band leader / musical director, and then when it was David's birthday show, I had to sit down with different artists and run through the song with them before rehearsal started, and that was how I got to meet and know everybody, and
brilliant.
It just rolled from there.
Well, it's a terrific album, and to get artists of that calibre guesting for you, you've got to be pretty special yourself, if you don't mind me saying. But of course, as a result of that, the sort of ongoing relationship with Robert Smith ensured, and obviously recently, last 2 or 3 years, you've guested quite frequently for The Cure as a guitarist on tour. So again, that's just because you hit it off with Robert and kept in touch.
Well, I met the rest of the band, and then Robert and I and Jason Cooper, the drummer, did a piece of music, a song for the guys from South Park. Did a movie called Orgasmo, and we did a song called Sign from God, which I then covered on my Rockonica album, which came out later. But then I would just, I would pop in and play a few songs with the Cure on stage when they were. It was all very sociable. Yeah. It was not. Nothing was. There was no nothing forced about that relationship with the band, which is lovely.
Brilliant. And obviously on the Ulysses album, you co-wrote a song with Robert, which I'm going to play shortly. But just as a bit of a cheeky question here, not that I'm necessarily after an exclusive, but are there any plans going forward to maybe write again with Robert and or in connection with possibly a new Cure album?
You know what? The way I look at it is, all things Cure, all information about the Cure comes from Robert.
Fair enough, but you can't blame me for trying.
But,
come on.
Let's just say I'm extremely happy.
Well, I'm happy.
I've never, joining the Cure in 2012 was sort of a dream come true.
Yeah.
If the opportunity would have been there back in the 90s and Robert would have asked, I would have done it, happily done it then, and
I must
it's
say
a very healthy and happy organization right now. So.
Good. Well, I must say I can see the fit, and not only am I very happy, but I'm sure plenty of my listeners, especially the Cure fanatics out there, are probably a little bit happier now as well. What I'd like to do is play the song that Robert guested on and co-wrote with you on Ulysses, and does the vocals on it, and it's a great track. It's called Yesterday's Gone.
It's like yesterday's over. Something I did, something I said, like yesterday's gone. Something I felt, or maybe something I thought, like yesterday's over. Something I touched, something I saw, like yesterday's gone. You used to dream, you used to fly, you used to be my reason why. Used to be me, useless to try. You used to dream. Something you heard, maybe something you read, was like yesterday's over. Something you did, something you said, it's like yesterday's done. Something you felt, or maybe something you touched, like yesterday's over. Something you thought, something you loved, like yesterday's gone. Yesterday's gone. Yesterday's gone. I used to dream. You used to fly. You used to fly. I used to dream. You used to fly. I used to dream. Used to fly. I used to dream. You used to fly. I used to dream.
Right, well that was Reeves Gabrels from his album in 2000, Ulysses, featuring the vocals of Robert Smith with a fantastic song, Yesterday's Gone. So Reeves, I'd now like to come on to the most important part of the interview, of course, which is to talk about Reeves Gabrels and his imaginary friends.
Yes.
Your current band, who you're currently on tour with, but who are the imaginary friends and why do they exist?
Well, the Imaginary Friends, actually the name originally came out of a solo acoustic gig that I did in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Because people kept asking me who was going to show up. And I just figured I knew I was doing it solo, but I would kind of play with their imaginations a little bit. The Imaginary Friends are Kevin Hornback on bass, and Jeff Brown on drums. They're Jeff's from California. Kevin is from Louisville, Kentucky.
Right.
I met them in Nashville, and we've been playing together off and on for between 8 and 6 years, I think.
Yeah.
And the album we recorded over the past couple of years. The album was originally, I thought, done in 2012, but then when I joined The Cure, I delayed it.
Yeah.
And then on the breaks between live shows and other things with The Cure, I went back and added a few more songs,
Yeah.
a few bits and pieces, and remixed some things.
Is it sort of out shortly, and how can people get it?
It will be coming out through Bandcamp on October 31st.
Okay.
And then after that, it'll be available once people get tired of listening to it on an inferior MP3 format. It'll be available on vinyl and CD.
Good.
And
Well, I'll be one of those. That would
and
get fed up.
hopefully we'll actually do the HD format as well.
You've obviously got, and for people out there that want more info on the album and the
Facebook is Facebook, and also Reeves.net, which is REEVZ.net.
Brilliant.
And then ReevesGabrels.com.
That's great. So we're now going to play a track from the new album by Reeves Gabrels and his imaginary friends, and it's a track chosen by Reeves himself, and it's called Drown You Out.
Swear I am listening.
That was Reeves Gabrels and his imaginary friends with Drown You Out. Now, Reeves, can you tell me a little bit about the tour that you're currently on?
Yeah, it's the first time that I've ever played in the UK on my own.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a fun experiment, and you know, it's a in a way it's an update of the Power Trio concept. So it does go back to Hendrix and Cream conceptually and sometimes sonically, but then it comes through, you know.
You do realise you're setting yourself a bit of a standard there, don't you?
Oh, how's that?
To meet with Cream and Jimi Hendrix Trio.
Oh yeah, we well, it's always good to aim high, but and it doesn't deny the last 40 years of music either. I mean, there's somebody said it sounded like a cross between Crazy Horse and Nine Inch Nails.
The gig that was specifically looking forward to, obviously around the Birmingham area, is this Thursday. I know it's a venue that you may have seen as called the Oobleck. I don't even know if that's how you say it correctly, but believe me, everyone around Birmingham knows it as the Custard Factory. Don't ask.
Oh,
don't
really?
Ask.
Okay.
Oh, yes, don't ask. But it's the Custard Factory, folks, and Reeves and the band playing in literally 48 hours as we speak. Please get down there. It'll be a terrific gig. And also, if you look on the Only After Dark Facebook page, there's a section I've posted regarding a discount on any of Reeves' 4 CDs that will be available at the merchandise desk. And if you get a ticket in advance, or even if you pay on the door, you will get a discount. And I believe, Reeves, you're happy to meet and greet people after the gig?
Once I'm all sweaty and my eyeliner is running, I'll be I'll be at the CD booth.
Brilliant.
Happy to answer questions and sign CDs and take pictures.
People bring 1 or 2 Tin Machine bits and pieces along.
I've seen all kinds of very strange things. I signed a man's chest last night.
Right. I wondered what you were going to say for a minute, but thankfully it was stopped at his chest. But
Well, I didn't. I mean, that really doesn't fall under the category of strange things, but it was a request I don't usually get.
Yeah. There we go. Listen, Reeves, it's been terrific to talk to you.
Likewise.
Yeah, really looking forward to the gig on Thursday evening. And folks, this is possibly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It's not very often you get a guitarist of Reeves' stature and sort of history and credibility playing on your doorstep. Thanks for that, Reeves. I'll look forward to seeing you Thursday and hope you have a great gig.
Thank you very much. We'll see you then.
My pleasure. Right, there you have it, and hopefully I'll see some of you there at the gig on Thursday evening. So, we're right back after the next advert break, straight into Classic Simple Minds.
This is Switch Radio.
At switchradio.co.uk.
Linking communities together.